The history of martial arts is not written in ink. It is written in the blood, sweat, and tears of those who dared to step into the void. But once in a generation, perhaps once in the entire existence of the sport, an anomaly appears. A being that seems not to have been carved from the same clay as the rest of us. Jon Jones. When you speak that name, the air in the room shifts. For half the world, it is a name synonymous with perfection.
Jon Jones is the greatest of all time. He's beaten every human being he's ever competed against. He's the GOAT.
The name of a deity who descended among mortals to show them what absolute dominance looks like. For the other half, the name is a warning.
Jones's charge is a third-degree felony.
He fled the scene, leaving marijuana in his vehicle.
He faces up to 3 years in prison.
A tale of wasted potential, of moral decay, of a man who was handed the keys to the kingdom by God, only to throw them into the gutter in a fit of madness.
Are you a good guy trying to be bad, or are you a bad guy trying to be good?
I think I am a bad guy that's trying to be good. Just because religiously we're all sinners.
But who is this man really? This man who crawls into the cage on all fours like a predator stalking its prey? Is he a sociopath who feels no fear, or a deeply broken soul who finds peace only when inflicting pain on others? The world sees the headlines. It sees the police sirens, the wrecked cars, and the positive drug tests. It sees the arrogance. But that is just the surface. That is just the crust, cracking under the pressure of the tectonic plates of his psyche. Behind the highlight reels, behind those elbows that slice skin like a surgeon's scalpel, hides another story. A story about what happens when you give a man the power to destroy worlds, but forget to teach him how not to destroy himself. Tonight, we will not judge. Tonight, we will attempt to understand. Tonight, we reveal the anatomy of the greatest riddle in combat history. To understand Jon Jones, we must go back to the beginning, to the cold state of New York, to the city of Rochester, and later Endicott. This is not a story from the ghetto where bullets flew. It is a story from an environment where the pressure was quieter, but all the more crushing. Imagine a home where success was a duty, not a choice. A pastor's home. His father, Arthur Jones Sr., led the church congregation. The air in their house smelled of Sunday dinner and the strict discipline of faith. But in the basement, on makeshift mats, faith turned into war. Jon wasn't the only talent. He was the middle child, squeezed between two brothers, future NFL stars, Arthur and Chandler. Imagine that psychological weight. You are a child, and no matter what you do, your brothers are bigger, stronger, faster. In this sibling rivalry, something dark yet beautiful was born. Jon had to learn something his brothers didn't need. He had to learn to be creative. He had to be mean. He had to find a way to win even when physics said he should lose. There, on the living room carpet, his obsession with dominance was born. Not just to win, but to humiliate. To prove that even though he is Bones, a skinny, bony boy, he can break giants. But the real turning point, the moment that definitively cleaved his soul in two, came with tragedy. The death of his sister Carmen from brain cancer. She was only 18. When you watch someone you love fade away and the prayers of your father, that powerful man of faith, go unanswered, something inside you dies, and something else awakens. Jon understood that life is brutal, unfair, and short. That in this world, it doesn't matter if you are a good person. It only matters if you survive. This pain became his fuel. He stopped being just a wrestler. He became an instrument of fate, fueled by rage at God himself, yet simultaneously driven by a desperate desire for his favor. The year was 2008. Jon was 20 years old, had a girlfriend, a child on the way, and pockets so empty the echo inside was screaming for help. MMA wasn't a childhood dream for him. It wasn't a passion cultivated by watching Bruce Lee. It was a necessity. It was a job. When he first stepped into a professional gym, he didn't bring years of boxing or jiu-jitsu training. He brought only his wrestling pedigree and something the coaches couldn't name. He moved differently. He learned techniques from YouTube minutes before practice and then used them on veterans as if he had been refining them for decades. It was terrifying. His rise wasn't a marathon. It was a vertical rocket launch. Within 4 months, he had 6 professional fights, 6 wins, all by stoppage. His opponents didn't know what was happening. Jon didn't just take them to the ground, he tossed them like rag dolls. He didn't strike them, he walked through them. In those early years, we saw the golden child, the humble smile, biblical verses tattooed on his chest, Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. It looked so pure, so innocent. But if you looked closely, you saw it. That glint in his eyes when an elbow connected with an opponent's face. The moment the opponent lost consciousness, and Jon dropped him to the floor like a bag of trash. There was no pity. There was a cold, analytical curiosity. Even then, in those small arenas, the paradox was being born. A man who catches a thief on the street before a fight to hand him over to the police, and an hour later smiles while crushing another man's bones in the cage. And then came the moment. March 2011. Newark, New Jersey. Mauricio Shogun. Rua, a legend, a king, a man who had survived wars in Japanese rings, stood against a 23-year-old boy. What followed was not a fight. It was a public execution. It was a coronation performed through violence. Jon Jones didn't just defeat the champion. He systematically dismantled him. He kicked, punched, threw. In that fight, we fully saw his style for the first time. It wasn't Muay Thai. It wasn't boxing. It was organized chaos. It was elbows from angles that shouldn't exist. It was kicks to the knees that forced the audience to look away. He became the youngest champion in UFC history. And with the belt came a sense of invincibility. Not just in the cage, but in life. The following years were a parade of brutality. Lyoto Machida, the man no one could hit. Jon caught him in a standing guillotine. Do you remember that moment? Machida's lifeless body dropping to the floor like a sack of cement when Jon let go. And Jon? He walked away as if he had just finished a coffee. No emotion, just a job done. And then came Daniel Cormier. DC, his antithesis. An Olympian, a family man, a team captain. Their rivalry wasn't sporting. It was personal. It was toxic. When they stood opposite each other, you could see the sparking of 2 magnets with the same pole trying to push each other out of existence. In the cage, Jones wasn't just a fighter. He was a psychologist. He knew Cormier was strong, so he took away what made him strong. He beat him at his own game, wrestling. He broke his spirit even before he finished him with a head kick in the rematch. In these moments, Jon Jones was more than human. He was a force of nature. He was a perfect machine for violence, gifted with the wingspan of an albatross and the instinct of a shark. However, as the old saying goes, if you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you. And Jon didn't just gaze into it. He set up his living room there. While he was untouchable in the octagon, outside of it, he began to fall apart. Fame is a heavy drug, and Jon combined it with the real ones. Cocaine, alcohol, wild parties meant to drown out the silence in his head. The first major break came in Albuquerque. A rental car, a crash, the broken arm of a pregnant woman in the other vehicle. And Jon ran. He ran away from responsibility, ran away from the man his father said he should be. He came back only for the cash and then vanished into the dust. But if the world thought this was rock bottom, they were wrong. Rock bottom has a basement. The year was 2021. Las Vegas. The night he was inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame for his legendary fight with Gustafsson. It was supposed to be a night of triumph, a celebration of his legacy. Instead, the night ended with police sirens outside Caesar's palace. This time, it wasn't about cars. It was about blood on his fiancé's lips. And the most terrifying part? His daughters were there. A little girl begging hotel security for help because she was scared for her mom. In that moment, the mask of the Christian warrior burned away for good. The world no longer saw just a flawed young man. They saw a man battling demons he cannot defeat with his fists. Titles were stripped, sponsors left, and every comeback was tainted. Positive steroid tests, picograms, excuses. The world laughed at him and feared him at the same time. Bones became Johnny Bones Jones, a cautionary tale. Imagine the loneliness. To be the best in the world at fighting, but an absolute loser at what matters most. This duality was destroying him. But here is the twisted truth. The chaos didn't weaken him. It seemed he needed it. It seemed Jon Jones cannot function in peace. When he became a global pariah, he embraced it. He needed to be the bad guy. He needed the world to hate him because hate is energy. And he absorbed that energy and turned it into violence. Who stayed by his side when the lights went out and only darkness remained? His coaches, Greg Jackson and Mike Winklejohn. They saw something in him that others didn't. Not just talent, but a wounded child in need of guidance. They were like second fathers to him, yet even they often hit the wall of his ego. And what of his relationships with peers? Jon is a loner. Even when surrounded by people, he is alone. His interactions are often just a game. He watches people, analyzes their weaknesses, manipulates. It is a defense mechanism. If you let no one get close to you, no one can hurt you the way life has hurt you. But there are moments, rare glimpses, when we see the human. When he speaks about his daughters. That is when the cold stare of the predator changes. For a second, just for a split second, we see fear. The fear that his legacy won't be about what a champion he was, but about what kind of father he was. That his daughters will read the headlines about his arrests. This is his true Achilles heel. Not an opponent's hook, but the shame in the eyes of his own blood. Where is Jon Jones today? After 3 years of silence, during which he transformed from the skinny Bones into a heavyweight monster, he returned. Many doubted. Is he slow? Is he old? Does he still have it? The fight with Cyril Gane gave an answer that froze the blood in the veins of the entire division. It took just over 2 minutes. No drama. No war. Just cold, relentless dominance. Jon Jones returned not as an athlete, but as a chess master playing against a beginner. Today, he sits on the heavyweight throne. But this is a different Jon. He is calmer. Perhaps more cynical. He no longer tries to pretend he is a saint. He has accepted his role. He has accepted the fact that for many, he will forever be the villain. And it seems that in this darkness, he has found a strange kind of peace. The community is divided. Some worship him as the god of war. Others just wait for the next fall, for the next scandal, because they do not believe a tiger can change its stripes. But there is one thing no one can deny him. When the cage door closes, he is the king. What will remain of him when the dust settles? When we look at the statistics, we see perfection. Undefeated. No sane person counts that one disqualification. The most title defenses. He beat generations of legends, cleared out divisions. But his legacy won't just be about numbers. His story is about the complexity of human nature. Jon Jones is proof that talent is not a moral virtue, that you can be gifted with the touch of God and yet carry hell in your heart. We will not remember him like Muhammad Ali, who fought for human rights. We will not remember him like GSP, who was the embodiment of professionalism. We will remember Jon Jones as a storm, as a force that was beautiful in its destructiveness. His legacy is a warning to every young athlete. You can have the whole world at your feet, but if you do not master yourself, you will become a prisoner of your own kingdom. It is a tragedy of Shakespearean proportions, played out in 4-ounce gloves on a canvas spattered with blood. At the end of the day, when the arena lights go down and the crowd falls silent, only the man and his reflection in the mirror remain. Jon Jones may never find the redemption he seeks. Perhaps his destiny is to be forever torn, an angel in the cage and a demon on the loose. But one thing is certain. As long as he breathes, as long as he is capable of making a fist, we will watch. We cannot look away. Because in his fight, in his rise and fall, we see something of all of us. We see the battle between who we want to be and who we truly are. Is Jon Jones the greatest fighter of all time? Yes. Is Jon Jones a good man? That is a question everyone must answer for themselves in the silence of their own room. Hit subscribe, because the story isn't over yet. And in the world of Jon Jones, you never know what tomorrow will bring.